God wants you to do something different or something special or something that you're not ever thinking about, he can tell you. On February the 18th, 1983, that night I had a dream. It was a dream from God. It was a dream from God. And you can read about it in the first book. But it was a dream about being pro-life. And the next day I told Ann, I said, whoa, I got to do something. We were pro-life. We did all the local pro-life things. I'd already been to Washington, D.C. for the march, how many times? But God was telling me I needed to do more. He didn't tell me what. I went to the nearest abortion center in Dayton on North Main Street, and I stood outside it for 3 months trying to talk people out of it on Saturday mornings, and had no success, not one. Kept thinking. I thought, I'll open up a storefront and offer free pregnancy tests. And when women come in to have the test, they find out they're pregnant, there'll be a pro-lifer right there to help them choose life. Because by the time they get to the door of the abortion center, it's hard to turn them around. I didn't know somebody else had already thought of this. But in 1983, there were very few. The closest crisis pregnancy center was in Cincinnati. There was none between Cincinnati and Toledo. And I'd never even heard of it. I thought I invented it. And then somebody said, oh, there's one of those kind of places down in Cincinnati. So I went down to Cincinnati and I talked to them and found out how you do everything. And lo and behold, we started the Pregnancy Problem Center. Today it's called the Women's Center. It's in Sydney. We've been there since 83. It's going to be almost 40 years next year. 40 years. And we've seen, I don't know how many, thousands, tens of thousands of women. We've saved hundreds of babies from being aborted. And it's just been awesome. God wanted that to happen. And so he gave me that. He gave me the dream. And then he gave me the thoughts. Why did he give it to me? Because I was available. You know, you're in a city, you need a ride, you take the next taxi that's coming, you know. Is that taxi available? Sure. You get in. The Lord is simply looking for somebody. I was a guy who says, Lord, I want to serve you. Dangerous prayer, kids. Just open yourself up. I don't care what your age is. You open yourself up. I'm yours, Lord. You never know what he's going to tell you. I never dreamed. It came from a dream. Did you get that? Yes. I never dreamed of starting something like that. One Saturday morning after Mass of Holy Angels, we were still living in Sydney, been married a couple years, maybe a year or two. I was just reading the Catholic newspaper. Mass was over, I'm sitting there reading the Catholic newspaper, reading some article. And the Lord just speaks to me out of the blue. Says, I want you to take unwed mothers into your home. What? Went home and told Ann. She said, well, that's probably a good thing to do. We both talked to Father O'Connor, our pastor. I said, God told me to do this. He said, well, that's a good thing to do. Why don't you give it a try? So we did, and like 7 years later, we had taken 8 girls into our home. And it was just a fantastic, fruitful service that we did for those years. You can read about it, the first book. And so if God wants you to do something, he'll tell you. So don't fret. Don't stress. We're good Catholics. We read stories about saints and they do all these things and we think, oh man, I'm chump change. I'm nothing like those guys. Do what God tells you to do. And if he wants you to do something out of the ordinary, he will tell you. You know, he'll tell you. He'll get it through to your mind. And so otherwise, you just live the life that you know you should be living, keeping the commandments and loving everybody that God puts into your life. It's all about faith, hope, and love. And I know you believe in Jesus. You got the faith. And I know you're all hoping for heaven. Me too. How about that love? Love means seeking the best interest of the other person. What's in their best interest? And a lot of times, that means you're going to have to make a sacrifice to help them in that best interest. And that's kind of how we fail in love, because we don't want to make that self-sacrifice. But make it. Love everybody that God puts into your life. Do your best at that. What was it? St. Francis, make me a channel of your peace. Lord, make me a channel of your love. Love people through me. Ran over.